the thought of getting up here and speaking is terrifying. I'm terrified. But I knew that I needed to do this, not only for him, but for me. And in thinking of what do I share? How can I do justice to who he is? Because whether you knew him through school, through college, high school, through White House, Canandaigua, through his family, like you, through me, if you didn't even know him, but you know the type of man that he was through us if you didn't know him personally. But I just thought I would share our story because this is my favorite story, and I just think it's the greatest love story, so I'm going to share it. It all starts back when I was a kid, and some of you don't know that I have a twin brother. And so Lance and I grew up together. He's right over here. We come from a small town, and so we were in every single class together. We had the same circle of friends. We were always together. He was always there for me. And when we went to college, we both went different ways. And I didn't realize this at the time. It wasn't until afterwards. I was craving that like male platonic friendship that I'd had my entire life. And it would always start the same way. I would, become friends with a guy, and I would love spending time with them. Truly a great friend. And I didn't realize back then how naive I was in thinking that there can be a purely platonic relationship when you start to, spend a lot of time with someone. And over and over again, the same thing would happen. I lost a lot of truly wonderful guy friends because I get it from their point of view. I just said, no, I don't have the same feelings for you, and that would be hard. I get it. But I just remember feeling like so sad. Like all I wanted was just like a male friendship that I'd had my entire life. But enter in Alex. So we met freshman year. We both were from New York in a small Pennsylvania school. And I wasn't allowed to have a car my freshman year. None of the freshmen were. And so I was looking for somebody to carpool home with. And my best friend, she was dating a guy on the soccer team. And so she's like, I think, I know a guy that is from New York. So met Alex, and that very first ride home with my mom, I was telling him all about the man I was going to marry that I was dating. And he sat in the back, and even my mom was just shocked at how, she was so impressed with him because he talked so lovingly about his family. And she just thought, an 18-year-old that just loves his family so much and just talks about them constantly was really, really cool. And he also fell asleep in the back seat. I just remember being like, I could never just fall asleep with two people I didn't know. But that is Alex. He can fall asleep anywhere. I'm sure he did it at school. You just might not have known it. And so our car trips home began. And it didn't take long before I realized the type of man that he was. And looking back, I can't believe it was like a veil was over my face because we called them like lunch dates. Let's go on a lunch date together. But we would alternate paying. And Alex thought he was flirting with me, but he never, to me, he wasn't doing the normal flirting that I was so used to. As soon as, this would happen and, I would start to get the vibes like, I don't have feelings for this person, but he just treated me like a friend. And looking back, I do see how he was trying to flirt with me, but he'd never had a girlfriend before, so he didn't know how to do it. And we would get breakfast together. We would go to church together. And I would tell people, I want to marry a man like Alissa Clark. But again, that veil was over my eyes. I just couldn't see that it was him. And he had feelings for me for that very first car ride. And everybody else knew, I didn't. And I will never forget walking back to our dorm room my sophomore year, my best friend, she said, I've got something to tell you. I said, what? What are you going to tell me? We had just we were on our way back. We were hanging out with Alex in the library, studying, but really laughing our tails off. And she looked at me and she said, "I've never seen you laugh or be more happy with anyone except Alex Clark." And I said, "Of course I was laughing. He just sang a sweet little kitten fish in the library. Like, what 19-year-old sings a lullaby like that to two girls, you know? Like, it was just, of course I laughed with him." And she said, "No, I really see something there." And I just said, "Brandy, you don't understand. He is like one of my best friends, but that's all it is." And we just kept, he wanted to tell me so many times. We drove to see each other during the summers. It was just, he was such a dear friend to me. And he wanted to tell me so many times, but every time the Lord said no. And if you know Alex, and like Pastor Tony just shared, like Alex has always just been so in tune with the Lord and his leading. And if he had told me any sooner than he did, the same fate would have befell us. But that September afternoon, we had gone to church together, and we were on one of our lunch dates. We picked up subs, and we went to Valley Forge National Park. And we were just talking like normal, and then I sensed a shift. And he started telling me all his feelings that he had for me, and he told me that he loved me. And I was devastated because I could not let this man go. He was not like all the others. He was just so much deeper, and the character and qualities that I saw in him was far beyond any other man that I had become friends with. And I was selfish, and I couldn't let him go. I did not feel those feelings, but I said, "I know you're supposed to be in my life. I'm just not sure how." Afterwards, I called home sobbing. Alex just told me he loved me, and you know, I was just so afraid I couldn't lose him, because looking back, he was plastered all over my prayer journal. Thank you, Jesus, for a man like Alex Clark. Thank you for this godly influence in my life. That veil was over my eyes. And once the veil was lifted a few weeks later, and I said, "Yes, I want to date you," I knew he was the man that I was going to marry. I'd never met anyone like him. And never once, I mean, we were not perfect, our marriage was not perfect, but the vulnerability that we were able to have with one another, we bared our souls, the good sides, the ugly sides, but the love and like no judgment that I ever felt from him. I always knew he was on my side. I always knew he wanted what's best for me, even when he challenged me to do things I didn't want to do. And just seeing him blossom as a dad. I mean, he saved things, you know, growing up in high school, little trinkets and things that he wanted to give to his kids. His greatest dream was to be a dad. And I kid you not, every single day, we were like puppies, like looking at the door, like, when is Dad gonna get home? We're so ready for Dad to get home. And the minute that he would walk in the door, it was, we all sighed a deep breath of relief because he was home. And I feel so blessed and so honored to be the woman that he chose, who put him on a roller coaster of emotions after he confessed his love to me. But I'm so glad I said yes. And you know Alex and the man that he was, but through this whole process, he was not afraid to die. He was not afraid to meet Jesus. And every single hard step, he just kept saying, "I want to honor the Lord. I want him to be glorified." And he'd look at me and say, "Even in my death," and I would, of course, be like, "No, that's not happening." It's hard for me to, in that moment, like, how in the world could the Lord be glorified through your death? But being on this end, I see it and I can't deny how the Lord has been in all the little tiny moments, even those excruciating, terrible moments of grief. So nothing would make me happier, nothing would make Alex happier, that if you don't know Jesus, reach. And he will come to you, and he will give you the peace that no one else can, the peace that he gave Alex, even until the end. And so thank you for coming today. Thank you for hearing our story. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I hope I gave you the picture of the greatest love story that I know in my life, besides Jesus coming and dying on the cross. Second greatest love story, but I guess ours is the second. But anyway, thank you for being here. Please come hug me. I will cry, but thank you for being here. Love y'all.